now, we expect President Trump landing back here in the U.S. after his trip to the U.K. But it was earlier today during his meeting with the Prime Minister that the president voiced his desire to retake control of Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan.
We're going to leave Afghanistan, but we're going to leave it with strength and dignity. And we're going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. We're trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons.
You might remember the scenes of the U.S. military withdrawing from Afghanistan and the air base following the collapse of the Afghanistan government in 2021. Very soon after Bagram was abandoned, the Taliban would take control of the airbase. And then there's the president's former opponent, the one who wanted to become the commander-in-chief. In Kamala Harris's new book, 107 Days, she reportedly divulges that her first choice for a running mate was the then Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. According to The Atlantic, Harris writes in her new book, quote, "We were already asking a lot of America to accept a woman, a black woman married to a Jewish man. Part of me wanted to say, screw it, let's just do it. But knowing what was at stake, it was too big of a risk. And I think Pete also knew that, to our mutual sadness." Full panel here with me now on all of this. Scott Bolden, NewsNation political contributor. Jessica Anderson, former budget official in the first Trump administration. Lindsey Granger back with me, co-host of Rising on the Hill. And Bill McGinley back with us, former cabinet secretary in the first Trump administration. Hello to you all. Thanks for being here. I was like, who wants to go first? And everyone threw a finger.
Everybody pointed at me to talk to this issue.
I turned my finger. I went here.
On Kamala Harris, her basically saying today a couple things. One, Tim Walz wasn't my first choice. And it leads me to the question, is she essentially saying there that America's too intolerant?
Yeah, I just think that this table is probably very forward-thinking, and we all can say, sure, this would be great to do. But I'm thinking that America, and the way that we are in the middle of trying to repeal same-sex marriage ruling that's actually on the table for the Supreme Court, we are not as forward-thinking as we think. And you know, under President Obama, he had switched his idea about same-sex marriage. Many Democrats were aligned with his idea that same-sex marriage should not be legalized. And he changed, and the country started to sway. So to pretend like we're at a place where we would have had this first black woman president, which I would have liked, and this first vice president gay man, which I would have liked, is I don't think where the country's at when they close the voting booth and are behind that by themselves making their decision.
But the majority of Americans have demonstrated that they're not ready for a black woman. They haven't demonstrated they're not ready for a gay vice president. But two women have run against Trump, and he's beaten both of them. Yes, America is not who we want her to be. America is who she is. And in this particular case, everything, when you're running for president or running for city council, you put everything in the mix because voters, right, vote their prejudices, if you will. And as a result, there are vast parts of this country who find sexual orientation as well as the color of my skin offensive, and they vote. And so you have to put everything in the mix. No, we are not tolerant enough to have that on the ticket.
Everything in the mix, though, also includes policies.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the other.
And on policy, as she says, on policy, Buttigieg would have been a great vice presidential candidate. But there are big parts of America who wouldn't be ready to vote for someone gay to be vice president.
People actually think that Buttigieg is fairly moderate. So I think that he probably would have been somebody that would have related to the state of America.
I know two people on the panel who would not have voted for Buttigieg.
Jessica?
This feels like revisionist history. Yeah, I proudly voted for Trump twice. Three times, actually, if you count all three. Look, I think this feels like a little bit of revisionist history. She was the presidential candidate. She could make the choice. If she wanted him there with her, she could have forced that through and done it. I think what she realized is that she had less than 1%. In the Democratic primary, Buttigieg did not have the support of the people, and she needed someone from a swing state that she thought was going to get her across the finish line with working class. Remember, Waltz was out there in his camo trying to be working class. It didn't work. It's revisionist history.
Well, it could be both, though. You wouldn't disagree with that, would you? It could be both.
I think in this case, it's revisionist history, though. If she wanted it, she would have done it.
I think that passage that you read spoke more about Kamala Harris as a candidate and an office holder than it did about America. If Kamala Harris was a courageous candidate and really wanted to say that she wanted to change America, she wouldn't have cared what people thought. She would have stood her ground and gone out and done bold things. But instead, if you remember from the campaign, she couldn't even do an interview alone. I mean, she had to stage everything. She was a horrible candidate, and she didn't even win the primary. But Biden backed out, and they forced her into that slot for 107 days. I think back, and this is one of the things I always think about. One of my heroes is Jackie Robinson. Okay. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. You look at the abuse he took to change baseball in America forever. If Kamala Harris was a courageous candidate, she could have done a similar thing.
But we're not talking about baseball. Hold on.
So that
Hold on. We're not talking about baseball. We're talking about a presidential election. And all that matters is winning.
She was horrible on policy.
Horrible on
have all that.
campaign.
I want to get Lindsay. Go.
So if she actually runs this time, she's going to have a full campaign season, not 107 days. And who she chooses is going to fall largely on her policies and every single thing else. But when you are at a crunch time and have no decision to make, and you already have been sidelined by the entire party because they want Biden in the place, and we all knew that that was a bad idea.
You suggested that she could be running again. She's already gone after Joe Biden, gone after, in a sense, Tim Walz.
You're saying she's not going to run again?
I don't know, but what I'm saying is she's going after a lot of people in her own
yes,
party.
Because she missed the opportunity to do that. I think that the entire thing was a disaster. I've been very public on that and going back to how this all played out. But now you have to distance yourself. You cannot be the same person that
keep
says...
talking around the issue. Listen, this is a campaign. You know how you win a campaign? You get one more vote than the next guy, right? So everything goes in the mix. If she didn't believe she could win with Buttigieg, no matter how much she liked him on paper, she's going to go with someone else.
How do you think Tim Walz feels?
He doesn't feel good. He does not feel good.
No, well, he doesn't mind not being the first. He was the second, and he ran with her. So what's he mad about?
Losing.
Bagram, other issue. The current commander-in-chief, Jessica. President Trump on the world stage today abroad in the UK press conference, and he basically says we're trying to get Bagram back.
Yeah.
The significance there is what?
This is a big deal. So Bagram Air Base sits at a very strategic neighborhood in the world. You've got China to its west, and you have Iran to its east. So it's important from a standpoint of peace through strength for the region, which Trump is very, very much committed to. So I think the signaling that they want to get it back not only is political, because it's something valuable that Biden lost with the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, but it's strategic because it sends peace through strength in the region where there is a lot of hot conflict with both China and Iran. And again, on the China point, remember, if they have to pay attention to America on their west, that means they're not as focused on Taiwan, which is on their east coast.
I think my colleague misspoke about Biden giving up that air base. In February of 2020, Donald Trump's first administration cut a deal with the Taliban to withdraw in 2 years. As part of that deal, he gave up that Bagram Air Force Base, did not say anything about it in the written agreement. Now, Biden, it was disastrous how we came out, but how we came out was rooted in a deal that Donald Trump cut, and he gave up that air base.
But he got something for that deal, and that was not honored by Biden. And
now he wants to go back and get Bagram.
Worse with the withdrawal and the 13 service members that were killed.
Well, he should have negotiated that in.
The totality of
Biden should have.
No, Trump did. It was too late by then.
The totality of all this started under Trump, ended under Biden.
Yeah.
What's the significance here?
Look, I think that Trump wants that strategic airbase back. I think we need it for our national security, both with respect to China and Iran, and I think he's going to make a deal and get that back. And I think it's going to be critically important that he's successful in doing it, and I have a lot of faith in his team, from Secretary Rubio and everybody else. This is going to happen.
And I disagree. As much as you guys can name all the reasons why it's close to China, the real significance is that this was a failure for Biden. So any failure for Biden that he can continue to bring up is another win for him. And he's not actually having policies that are causing the economy to go up. He's not actually pulling or ending the Russia and Ukraine war. He's not actually doing anything that he said he was going to do. So this will be a win to point back to a Biden
You're going to put American boots on the ground?
No,
when you get it back? You're going to put American boots, going to put 100,000 soldiers back at that Air Force base surrounded by the Taliban?
He hasn't indicated that.
Yeah.
Well, he says he wants it back.
I don't think he's indicated that or wants boots on the ground. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. You were not my second, third, or fourth choice.
Thanks for choosing.
I was about to ask.
You've always been my first choice.
Good to have you guys. I appreciate it. All right, still to come here on the Hill. As Congress tackles UFO transparency, did you know something on this front happened 52 years ago today involving an American president? I'll explain and a look at what's trending on the other side.